And welcome once again to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr, joined as always by Juan Zarate, our national security analyst. Juan, good to see you.
Bob, great to see you.
Let's talk about where we stand with this Iran deal. Apparently now the deal has been finalized. The interim part of the deal has been finalized. What does it mean?
Well, this is a little confusing, Bob, because recall that in Geneva, the P5+1 had negotiated with Iran an interim deal with a framework for a long-term deal. What we now have is, in essence, the implementation of that interim deal, the details behind it, and now we're moving forward. And the moving forward part is the movement toward a permanent, long-term, comprehensive deal with Iran. The administration obviously likes this because it gives further teeth and detail to what has been negotiated, and actually then gives the administration a chance to say, look, we're moving on the path toward diplomacy. Let's not take any missteps, any marches toward war, as they said, inadvertently as we negotiate with Iran. And so this is seen as a hopeful sign. Secretary Kerry is very positive about where they are, and I think that we'll just have to see what the next steps
So as an opening
entail.
salvo here, we're rolling back some of the sanctions just a little bit, and Iran is agreeing not to enrich uranium beyond 5%. But this is still a very tentative step, and a lot of people still don't like it.
Well, it's a tentative step in part because we don't know the details yet. And we've talked about this at length, Bob. The devil's in the details. One, what type of enrichment is still allowed? If it's allowed to 5%, there is the implicit agreement that Iran has the right to enrich, which is a huge fundamental problem for those who've been watching the Iranian nuclear program, who say, look, if you give Iran this opportunity, they're going to consistently have breakout capability. And so we're never going to know if they're still marching toward a nuclear weapon capability. Second, are we going to actually get to all of their facilities? We've known in the past that the Iranians have hidden some of their facilities, built bunkers, built deep into the mountainside some of these nuclear facilities. Are we actually going to know what's happening in some of those facilities? Third, can we even trust the Iranians at the end of the day? Can we sign a deal with them that we think they're going to agree to and that will actually restrain their nuclear weapons capability? All of those are still questions, and in the meantime, we are rolling back some of the economic sanctions.
At the same time, on the point of sanctions, there's new momentum in Congress to tighten the screws a little further. The Iranians have said if you add new sanctions, deal's over. Can the administration hold Congress back, and what's the strategy? What's the play there?
Well, this is incredibly important to watch, Bob, because this is a delicate dance here in Washington between the White House and the Senate Democrats. Keep in mind that what's happening in Congress is a move to put forward a new sanctions bill that is in essence an insurance policy, to use Senator Menendez's words, an insurance policy that Iran, if they decide to cheat, if the long-term agreement can't be reached, that more effective sanctions, more harsh sanctions will go into place, largely on the oil sector of Iran. The problem with that is the administration has said that will scuttle the negotiations. The Iranians will move away from the negotiating table. And what they've started to do in a very kind of harsh negotiating maneuver, have started to say, if you are for this new sanctions bill, you have to say if you are for war with Iran, because the alternative to the negotiations is really a march toward war. And so you've started to see a battle of words and negotiations between the White House and Congress. The best the White House can hope for is delay Congress so that they don't pass this bill. And certainly Senator Reid has indicated that he won't move forward with the bill, at least not before the State of the Union later in January.
So this is still a very fluid situation. We don't know where this is going.
Absolutely fluid, but I think there's momentum behind this bill, and I think it's going to be incumbent on President Obama and the White House to convince the Senate not to move forward.
All right, Juan, thanks. We'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Bob.
And thanks to you for watching Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. We will see you again next time.